Hey everybody and welcome, I'm Fox with FoxeoGames, and this is another Dark Souls playthrough in which we're talking about the general red pill concepts, except this time around, as you can see from the title, we are talking about predatory women. As we discuss this issue, I have 10 main types of predatory women I want to discuss, but first, for some housekeeping stuff, we are going to play through as Kieran. Please note that I do believe she has the dark silver tracer in the right hand and the gold in the left. I kind of like it the opposite way, so I may go ahead and do that the opposite way. I may also add a bow to this build. We'll just see how it goes. I'm going to take off the Havel's ring. And yep, sure enough, we can fast roll without the Havel's ring on. So in place of the Havel's ring, we're going to use, if we have it, please tell me we have it. Oh no, I don't think we have it. I wanted to use the Chloranthy ring. Well, we don't have the Chloranthy ring, so instead of the Chloranthy ring, we may use either the Ring of Steel Protection, Flamestone. You know what, we'll just alter what ring we're using based on what we're doing in the moment. Right now, we'll pop the Wolf ring, how about that? And then if we need it, we'll use the Rusted Iron ring. If we need it, the Covetous Gold Serpent ring. Later, we'll use the Chloranthy ring once we can get to it. This is a New Game Plus playthrough, just so you know, and I will alternate these two as I feel the need to do so, because in this form, I don't think I'm able to toxify enemies with the gold or dark silver tracer. I think you have to do that stab attack, and you can only do that in the right hand. But I love the right-handed moveset for the dark or the gold tracer. I almost want to call it the gold silver tracer. That wouldn't make much sense now, would it? So here we go, guys. I'm playing in offline mode because I have kind of altered a little bit of the save game data to get this all to work, to get all the items into the game, and I don't want to go online with that being a condition. So, as we talk about the topics, I want you guys to chime in with comments. Like the video if you like it, dislike it if you dislike it, subscribe and all that good stuff. And as we talk about these, we will address some other topics we've mentioned before. We will address some topics we'll mention in the future. So, yeah. One of the most interesting things about this playthrough is that we will not have a shield. So that will be a bigger deal as we move forward. Oops, as we move forward, because I'm just so used to having a shield and blocking at times. We'll see how it goes. And there we go. I think this has bleed effect, right? Yes. Both that and the dark silver tracer have bleed effect, if I'm not mistaken. Where is it? Where is it at? Is it up here somewhere? Yeah. No. Dark silver tracer does not have bleed effect, however, has extremely high dex scaling, and it has a toxic effect. Nope. So interestingly enough, when you kill him after you're done with the Northern Undead Asylum, he drops the key. But if you kill him early, he does not drop the key. You get the key later, so that you have to continue through this area. And New Game Plus, you already have the Estus Flask, of course, so that's not something you need to get, as it would be in New Game. I rarely play New Game Plus, but when I do, it's almost always because I need it. I need to have stuff already on hand for these cosplay playthroughs, as you might call them. They're not roleplay playthroughs. I'm not sure a roleplay would really be all that interesting. Today's drink of choice is hot black coffee, ground fresh from Starbucks espresso beans. I found them to be one of the darkest blends. And then I just pour entire cups of coffee with it. The dagger. Change weapons and toggle items. So we will not be seeing any player messages. We will not be getting invaded, and we will not be summoning players. That's kind of disappointing. But whatever. It's okay. We have other plans, right guys? Let's go up here and jump down. And I think we will now get the key that we need from Oscar here. By the way, it doesn't matter if you kill him or if you just let him die. He will die on his own. Yep, the big Pilgrim's key and the other key. So interestingly enough, he'll drop the key if you kill the Asylum Demon early. It's actually possible to kill the Asylum Demon in New Game. Basically, all you have to do is start with the black fire bombs and throw those at him, and you'll kill him with those. Whoop, whoop, whoop. So, if I really want to block, I can block with this. The only catch is it's not a good item to block with. necessarily. What is our damage reduction? Physical damage reduction is 45. So actually, I gotta say, I am shocked at how good that is, considering what it is. Now with this, I can't block. I can parry and attack. If I two-hand the gold tracer, then I can block. And 45% is pretty good. Like, some really, really terrible shields are around that, aren't they? Well, no. I guess the worst shields are like, what, 70%? But still. Predatory women, guys. We're not going to discuss one specific category, but we're going to do the introduction. What I want to hit on are all of the types I will be discussing. Oh, I forgot there's another one right here. That's a lot of damage. Kieran's armor set is not the best for blocking damage, guys. But we're going to discuss 10 different types. There is overlap. I don't think that all women necessarily fit one versus another. I think there are women that'll fit multiple. Like, for example, the narcissist and the borderline personality disorder / bipolar share a lot in common, quite a lot. In fact, in many ways, the narcissist and the borderline are one and the same. Not in all ways, but in many ways. Oh boy, that coffee is hot. I like it. The borderline personality and the bipolar can be similar, although they have different causes and different solutions. I'm not a big believer in depression medication, but for people with bipolar or manic disorder, I don't know if they call it that anymore, medications like lithium and Effexor can be helpful to kind of regulate and get those women back down to kind of a more baseline level so that they're not all over the place. But the thing to keep in mind is, as we discuss predatory women, this is not always about women that are intentionally trying to destroy you, although in some cases it is. The narcissist is responsible for her behavior, just like the borderline personality and the bipolar. Those are the two categories I have. Narcissist, and then I combine borderline and bipolar because I don't think they're separate enough to keep them separated like that. Let's go ahead and get more health. How about that? So here we are, guys, a new game plus. Something I rarely do. I'm going to do a new game plus playthrough of Demon Souls as well, using some different weapons and armor. We'll see how that goes. I might try using heavy armor, the brushwood set, which belongs to Bior. If you haven't seen my Demon Souls playthrough, definitely worth watching. We discussed some issues with the red pill. The third type of predatory woman I'd like to discuss, and this is not one that necessarily targets you specifically, but affects you very negatively, especially the more involved you get, is the deadbeat. And I very purposely use the term the deadbeat because it's a play on the notion that there are deadbeat fathers and deadbeat men. What the heck? Seriously? The gold silver tracer is doing very little. Hang on. Ah, they're not upgraded. Aha. So I need to upgrade these. Definitely need to get these upgraded ASAP. Let me go take a look and see if I have the upgrade box. The weaponsmith box, I guess it's called. I call it the upgrade box. But there's one for weapons and one for armor. Yeah, I'm gonna need those very much so. Especially for that dark silver tracer, it's doing virtually nothing. So let me go do that now. The deadbeat. The deadbeat is a woman that just doesn't care. She doesn't do much. She's lazy. She's essentially lazy. She relies on you for everything. Women can do this far more easily than most men. However, I will say this, that I have noticed a trend in more and more men playing the role of the lazy dude who just lounges around and lives off the woman, and oftentimes the woman is living off the government. And so by proxy, no, I don't have it. Okay. So by proxy, the man is living off the welfare. If she's living off welfare and he's living off of her, then he's living off her welfare. And so by proxy, he is also living off welfare. So if she's just, say she's a single mom who doesn't really work or has just a part-time minimum wage job, she gets a welfare check, she gets the Section 8 housing, she gets vouchers for utilities, she gets a free government paid phone, thanks Obama, she gets a WIC, She gets food stamps, EBT card. She gets this, she gets that. Basically, I consider all of that welfare in one way or another. A lot of people like to think of those as different. To me, welfare is a general term that covers all cases in which the government is paying you money that you did not earn. So no, it's not welfare to get a tax refund unless you're getting refunded money you never made. That would still, in my opinion, be welfare. Cashing in on your Social Security is not welfare because you paid for it. You earned it. You paid into the system with your own money, and now you're drawing out. It's kind of like the 401k. When you take money out of a 401, it's not welfare. I'm going the wrong way. This is not actually the way I want to go. Although I could go get the Chloranthy ring. But because of the high chance that we're going to die trying to get it, I will go ahead and wait until I have fewer souls on me. I meant to go talk to Rickert to see if I can upgrade these weapons. I'm thinking he'll do special upgrades with Twinkling. Let's see. Yes, by the way, somebody pointed out, very aptly pointed out, that when I talked about whether or not you could kill this guy, you can kill him with a long-ranged weapon, physical weapon that has a long range on it, or you could use the Acid Cloud or Poison Cloud, which, of course, strangely enough, I actually had equipped and attuned on me at the time. So crazy that here I am talking about, oh, I wonder if you could do this. And yes, not only can you do it, but I could do it with what I had. All right, let's reinforce gold tracer first. Oh shit, I'm not gonna have enough Twinkling for this. Oh, I can't even get it to +5. That sucks. Yeah, we'll get that. Okay. So the good news is we can get quite a lot more of... Oh, this was my sorceress playthrough, wasn't it? I have the witch set. I had the butterfly moonhorn. Yeah, sure enough, it was. So we're gonna go get the Firekeeper soul over here, and then we'll have a maxed out +7 Estus Blast. That's as far as you can go. Woo! All right, that should really help us out with damage, guys. We went from +0 on this to +5. That should be huge. Had I prepared it better, I would have had +5 weapons. Now, here's the question. What about my armor? Oh, damn. We're going to need a lot of Twinkling Titanite. We can buy it, but it's like 8,000 souls a piece, so it gets a little expensive. People. Here we go. Be careful not to hit that one ghost and like roll off and just kind of go off the edge. Demon Souls, Dark Souls, Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3, and Bloodborne all have really crappy platforming, so they shouldn't have put those things there. But anyway, the deadbeat woman. She either doesn't work or barely works. She's the type that will frequently just quit her job. You know, I realized I just wasted a whole bunch of... I just like blew 45,000 souls doing that. So let's go get those souls back. And then Homered Bone out. I'm so used to just doing that quick little suicide run and not worrying about the couple hundred souls at most I have on me in New Game. So you don't want to be involved with a deadbeat woman. If she's not going to work, if she's not going to earn her way, if she's not going to contribute, don't. And would I do the stay-at-home mom thing ever again? No. When you have a stay-at-home mom, courts love to screw you over and say that you have to keep taking care of her. Never, ever, 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 for any reason ever, take care of a woman. Now, arguably, you've been married for 10 years. She's an excellent woman. She's been great to you. She's been helping you out. She's in your frame. She gets sick with cancer. Could you take care of her then? Okay, yeah, sure, that makes sense. All right, so you want to take care of her then? That makes sense. But don't just pay a woman's way through life, okay, guys? We're here to discuss, by the way, dating, the red pill, masculinity, self-improvement from a man's perspective. We're not here to give an equivalent women's side, so please don't. Well, you can make whatever comments you make, but generally I will ignore any comments about, but men do it too, or but women have the same problem, but men do the same. We're not here for that. We're not here for but men too, or but women too, rather. We're not here for the, but what about women? But what about how hard women have it? But what about, we're not here for the, but what about, okay, guys? We're here for men, men only, for men's angle, men's side, men's discussion, men's issues. Are men perfect? No. Do men abuse women physically, emotionally, mentally, just like women can abuse them? Sure, yeah. but we're not here to discuss that. The gold digger. Now you may be thinking, wait a minute, Fox. Isn't the gold digger just the deadbeat? No. The gold digger specifically and very intentionally targets men who have a lot of money and they want that money. And they do it one of two ways. The more dedicated will marry an old man who has a good inheritance, get in there, and then through his death will inherit the money that he has. Some of these, in rare cases, but this has been known to happen, some of these women will actually encourage the demise of the man. They'll intentionally do things that they know will hurt him. They'll give him too much of a medication or too little of a medication, or swap out medication. She'll give him lots and lots of, opioids that, although they're prescribed to him, she'll give him like 4 or 5 times as much as she should to try to, see if she can get his heart to stop. Or she'll purposely have really rough intimacy with him to see if that will cause him to have a heart attack. And in more extreme cases, she may actually poison him. And because he's so old and frail, usually there's little suspicion other than maybe the family members not liking her. But police often think that these are Hollywood stories, young women don't marry old men and then murder them for their money, right? But yes, it has been known to happen. There are quite a lot of episodes of TV shows about this. Murder mystery shows like FBI Files or detective, police investigation shows that are actually based on the true story. They're documentaries more than a TV show. Oh, we're doing so much more damage. Yes, that's what I like to see. The gold digger can also marry a guy and then wait just long enough to where she knows she has legal right to his estate, half of everything he earns. In some states, if you get married and then you want to get divorced 4 months later, they won't give you anything. You're not going to get much of anything out of the guy because it's not considered having invested enough. She's not invested heavily enough to warrant taking his money. So she may wait just long enough to where she is entitled to half of everything he has. It depends on the state, and she'll be aware of those laws. She may also marry a guy that doesn't have a ton of money, but has some money, and then divorce him later, knowing that she can get half of it. She'll go get some alimony if she has a child with him, which that's another thing. I'm going to talk about the baby rabies type. She'll get child support out of him. So just be aware of these types. There are women out there, excuse me, looking for men for money. The other type we'll talk about are the baby rabies. Remember, I just mentioned that. The baby rabies, and I've heard this from Richard Cooper and some other people, so I didn't come up with that term myself. But baby rabies is when a woman desperately wants a child. She hasn't found a stable relationship. She's not married. She can't find a guy, and she knows her time is coming short. So instead of waiting for a good, stable marriage relationship, what she does is she targets a guy and misleads him into believing that she can't get pregnant. She's on the pill. She has an IUD. Oh, it's not her time of the month. Or, she'll even poke holes in his condoms, or she'll get his condoms out of the trash and impregnate herself. This has happened to a famous basketball player, at least one. And after she does this, there's no punishment. There's absolutely no punishment. She gets away with it. It's not illegal. I don't know of anywhere where there's any punishment for it. It should be a crime. Like, she should go to prison for paternity fraud. That's what I call it, paternity fraud. Fraudulently have a child with a man without his consent or knowledge. And of course, people argue, well, he's doing what with her, so he should know what could happen. There's a difference between she's taking her birth control regularly and boom, there's that 1% chance that happened, and she purposely isn't taking her birth control. Now, how do you prove this stuff? It's difficult. But it's like, sexual assault within the confines of a marriage or relationship. We still recognize that as a crime. We don't say, well, you guys are married and, it's really hard to prove. So, there's nothing we can do for you. We don't say that. We attempt to investigate. We attempt to address the issue. Same thing should be true of paternity fraud. One of the other types is I've called it the dominatrix, but I might also call it the virago. I think it's pronounced the virago, virago. I think it's more of a Latin term, but correct me if I'm wrong. This is the domineering woman, and her goal is to raise herself by bringing the man down low. Her goal is essentially to bring him down and elevate herself, to step on him, to raise herself up. She likes to be very controlling. She wants her husband to be very submissive so she can be dominant. She's ultimately unhappy with this arrangement, but it's what she seeks out because she mistakenly thinks it's going to make her happy. When it ultimately doesn't make her happy, of course, everyone else is to blame, not her. This is not necessarily, keep this in mind, guys, this is not necessarily a dominatrix in terms of, you know, in bed. She may not necessarily care about dominant intimacy. That's not necessarily where she's going with this. She just wants to control and dominate the man. And you'll see this a lot with a lot of nagging, a lot of criticism, a lot of verbal and emotional abuse. She'll be very critical of the guy. She'll constantly put him down. She won't recognize his accomplishments. When he does accomplish something, she'll criticize that he didn't accomplish more. If he gets a promotion at work, she'll criticize him on she'll say something like, "You should have gotten that years ago. Why did it take you so long?" That's the kind of attitude that she'll have. So she'll constantly be cutting him down, putting him down, and the idea is to always keep him on the offensive, to keep him weak, so that she can constantly gain an emotional advantage over him. Then there's number 7, and this one I have some personal experience with one of my relationships. The religious girl. The good religious girl, the good Christian girl. If you're in the US, most likely, the good religious girl is a Christian girl, but some of you listening to this are looking at me going, my good religious girl was a Muslim, because maybe you're Muslim as well, and you found out the hard way that, guess what? Religion does not overpower biology and genetics. It just doesn't. You can have the most religious guy in the world. You can have some of the most dedicated, lifelong dedicated pastors and preachers. And guess what we find out they've been doing? Going and paying hookers and escort girls and cheating on their wives. And you cannot overpower biology with mere conviction. You can restrain it to a certain degree. You can try to control it. But ultimately, in the end, on a, humanity-wide scale, biology tends to win out. I mean, we all know people that cheat in relationships. And most of them would express that, yes, they think cheating is wrong, and that's based on Christian values in America, usually. Even though they believe cheating is wrong, and even though it's against their religion, and even though some of them are very dedicated to their religion, at least outwardly, still, in the end, the biological urge to do it with this other chick wins out, or this other guy wins out, and they do what they know in their heart is wrong. The religious girl is particularly dangerous because she will appear to be this really good, wholesome girl, the kind of girl that won't get you in trouble, the kind of girl that'll stick around, the kind of girl that will honor you and love you and treat you like a true husband and recognize your husband authority, and she's gonna thank God for you. And she's going to be there for your needs, and she will never divorce you because she believes divorce is wrong, and her church teaches that divorce is wrong, and you believe that divorce is wrong. And as long as you guys communicate and try really hard and just talk it through, you'll make it work. Right? No. Nope. Find out the hard way. They do not care. They will justify getting a divorce when they want one. They'll find any way to do it, and all the other women around them will justify it. And when they tell the pastor and the deacons and the elders and the priest and everyone else at your church or whatever, when they tell them about how horrible you are, those men will typically believe her, and they'll take her word for it. And, oh, that's so sad. Well, in certain cases, God understands divorce with the abusive husband and this and that. And, it'll be nowhere in their holy scriptures. It won't be supported. It'll be directly contradicted. But in their minds, they're trying to justify supporting this woman because ultimately, they're orbiters. Pastors can be orbiters, guys that just hang around with, even if they don't know it, it's with the vain hope that maybe someday she'll sleep with them. It's the white knight tendency of men to want to be there for women, to rescue women, to help women. Always in the back of their minds, whether they know it or not, even if they completely deny it, in the back of their mind, there's a biological desire to get with that girl. And so they think by helping the girl, by believing the girl, by trusting her, by telling her that it's all going to be okay, that big, bad, mean man hurt you, well, I'm going to be here for you. I'm not like those big, bad, mean men that do big, bad, mean things to you. Ultimately, it comes down to their desire that they one day might get in bed with her. Even if they claim that's not what they want, even if that's against their religious convictions. So the religious girl, particularly dangerous because, it's good coffee, she will turn the entirety of the church against you. The church will become a weapon. And if your family is involved in her family, then you may find that everybody has to turn against you because, if the pastor is against you, then, well, they got to agree with the pastor, right? And then in some churches, it's almost like a cult. Like they all just have to kind of join together and you can find yourself outcasted. And this outcasting, they don't tell you, you're not allowed here anymore, leave. They just kind of slowly edge you out. You don't get invited to certain events anymore. You get the cold shoulder. People are talking about you. You walk in, you see people whisper and gossip and all that. The church can be one of the most sinful, horrible places in the world. And typically, in most cases, really is. It's full of very arrogant people. And unfortunately, it's just not always the type of place that they would say on the surface that it is. Or at least it should be, ideally. Nice try, buddy. Well, not a one-shot kill. I didn't think it would be, especially since it's not at +5. Woo! I thought I'd have them right there. There we go. The good news is, even if they hold a shield up, players or NPCs, you can bleed most of them out with these weapons. Well, with the gold tracer weapon, that is. The only problem I have with Toxic is, although it can be effective on players, Toxic and Poison are just not great ways to kill NPC enemies in the game. Because you're not doing a lot. I mean, you're not doing a lot of damage. You just have to sit around and wait. And usually the enemy's coming at you hardcore. Unless you can get them toxified or poisoned. I know toxified is not a word. And then hide somewhere or get behind something. It's usually not worth it. Nice try, buddy. Next up, number 8 is the Feminist. Let me tell you something, guys. Take a 10-foot pole. Add a 10-foot pole on top of that. Then get in a plane and fly as far away as you can from a feminist when it comes to relationships. Don't have anything to do with a woman who's a devout, dedicated, hardcore feminist. Now, some women may say, yeah, I'm a feminist. And what they mean by that is nothing more than, well, yeah, I support women and women's rights and women are equal. And that's not necessarily the end of the world. But if you have a hardcore woman that's preaching feminist bullshit, if she's reading The Guardian on a regular basis and believing in that crap, then no, you want nothing to do with that. Oh my god. Oh, okay. Woo! I was gonna say, that little tiny bit of damage it did, I was like, please tell me that's not it. It's so unfair to knock them down like that and then hit them again on their way up, isn't it? Oh, that was close. There we go. I just tore him up. Didn't need that, though. Does Havel's Ring stack if you wear 2? I don't think it does it? Maybe not. Yeah, the Feminist. She will... No. You may actually have some great times with her when it comes to the bed and intimacy. I use these terms trying to avoid too much language to flag YouTube, though some of my other videos I didn't care, did I? But the idea here is she may be pretty intense at times to try to she might get in bed and be like the total opposite of what she expresses, but when it comes to feminists, you don't want anything to do with them because they're full of hatred. They're full of malice. They constantly think that the world's against them when it's actually the opposite. They don't recognize reality. They will take advantage of men in every way that they can. And they see hurting men as revenge for the years of abuse and what is it? What's the word I'm looking for? Discrimination that they've faced through the years. Like, they see hurting you today as justifying what men did 100 years ago or 200 years ago. Of course, that's insane. That's crazy. But that's what they do. Don't touch a feminist. Have nothing to do with a feminist. Stay away from feminists. Make it clear you don't date feminists. If a feminist is showing interest in you, Say, hey, you know what? You're a beautiful looking girl. If it weren't for the fact that you were feminist, I'd be into dating you, but I don't date feminists. Let them know that so that they know moving forward. Am I going to fly off the edge here? Okay, whoo. So that they know moving forward why you're not dating them. And the reason I say you should tell them is because as men, it's better if we can sort of be semi-united on this front. If men everywhere said, I don't date feminists, then that would put an end to it. Feminists have tried to do this with the angle of, well, we won't date a Trump supporter. Tell them straight up if you voted for Trump. One of the best ways to get rid of feminists and social justice types, these screeching harpies, is to tell them straight up, weave it into the conversation that you voted for Trump or that you support something Trump is doing. Even if you didn't vote for Trump and would never vote for Trump, say something about how you support something he's doing. Because these feminists are so anti-Trump and they hate Trump so much that it's almost like a litmus test for them. You'll also get rid of those ultra left-wing girls that you want nothing to do with because they typically match with feminists. They have a lot of overlapping negative qualities. So don't deal with them at all. So guys, there's also the sugar daddy. So how's the sugar daddy different than the deadbeat or the gold digger? Well, they are. The deadbeat is just lazy and doesn't want to work, essentially. Just relies on you. The gold digger is looking to get money out of you at your expense. They're looking to do it long term. They will play the wife. They will marry you. They will want to spend significant amounts of time with you. The gold digger may actually tell herself that she loves you, so she may convince herself that she loves you, even if she doesn't. The sugar daddy girl, what she's doing is much simpler. She is very straight up. There's no bones about it. What does she want? She wants you to pay her money for the, quote, relationship. And it may be nothing more than, intimacy in the bedroom. But she knows what she's doing. She makes it clear. When you meet her on Tinder, Bumble, Plenty of Fish, OkCupid, Meetup, whatever, or when you talk to her, she might say, hey, you want to hang out? We can get together. And you're like, yeah. And you're thinking, oh, this girl's interested in me. She's going to, send you a request for money. She'll Cash App you. She'll Venmo you. She'll PayPal you. Right off the bat, it will be clear. She'll talk about how she's having trouble paying her utility bill this month. She'll make it clear to you that she wants something up front and then you date. It's essentially an escort type relationship. It's a higher quality prostitute, usually higher quality, but not always. She's essentially nothing more than a veiled prostitute. She's doing what a prostitute does. She is giving you intimacy directly after payment is made, with the direct understanding that payment will be made. So, that's the sugar daddy girl. It's usually pretty upfront and obvious. There's no mystery to it. Now, on top of that, we've got one more type. This is the type that is painfully obvious, physically painfully obvious, and this is the abuser. This is the violent woman. Now, a lot of people think, well, women aren't really that violent. Guys are really the ones that are violent. Women are usually pretty tame. No. What they have done over 200 different studies on domestic violence, and they have found that within margin of error, men and women are roughly equally likely to commit acts of domestic violence, and that includes initiating the violence. No, it's not women just responding to men. It's women starting the shit. Women will start the violence just as often as men will. Roughly. Now, sometimes it's like 40%, sometimes it's like 38%, sometimes it's like 55%. There have been cases that have shown that in over 2/3 of domestic violence situations in which there's non-reciprocating violence, that means one is violent and one is not, roughly 2/3 were women were the perpetrators. And men were just taking the abuse and not giving it back. Now, in the vast majority, I'm sorry, not the vast majority. In roughly half of cases, I think they found that they typically go back and forth. Woman will hit the man will hit the woman will push the man will push the woman. This goes back and forth. Woman will grab a can and throw it at him. He'll grab the lampshade and hit her over the head with it. this stuff typically goes back and forth, and you don't generally have totally innocent victims, and that's one of the problems here, is that what most people want. We want innocent victims and bad criminals. That's what we want, because that fits our narrative. The narrative is the bad guy with the hoodie and the mask over his face robs the sweet little grandma who didn't do nothing wrong. Well, unfortunately, that's not generally how it actually works. What ends up happening is that one person does something bad, the other person does something bad, one person says something horrible to them, the other person hits them, then they hit them back, and although, it doesn't justify hitting them, they said something, they may say something violent. They may tell the person, F you, you're a horrible bitch and all this other stuff, and sort of, they're almost instigating the violence. Now, they're not responsible for the violence against them just because they used mean words, but it's hard to think of them as totally innocent. But if a woman is abusive, what do you want to do? You want to have nothing to do with her. You do not want to ever be involved with an abusive woman. It's a sign of other dangers, too. Now, the abuse isn't just physical. The abuse usually transcends that. It becomes emotional. It could be, I hate using this term, spiritual abuse, but it could be abuse that she uses the church against you. The religious girl loves to use the church against you. The religious girl will use fake pleas for assistance, like, oh, would you pray for me? My husband's just been very abusive and horrible to me, and I need you to pray. But they make it sound better than that. But that's essentially the gist of it. They justify what they're doing through some context. Yeah, it's going to take forever to kill that guy with fire, so... What I want is for him to turn around, and then I can backstab him. Or, in this case, butt stab him. Whoop. Where's the butt stab? There it goes. Woo! Dead. Alright, I could have made a beeline and ran for that gate, and then it wouldn't have closed, but whatever. That body just fell. Not sure what caused it to fall, but it fell. So those are the 10 types. The narcissist, the borderline/bipolar, the lazy deadbeat, the gold digger, the baby rabies, the virago, which is the domineering woman, the religious girl, the feminist, the sugar daddy, and the abuser. Now, what I want to stress here, guys, is these types overlap. Rarely, very rarely, will you find a woman who only fits one definition. The religious girls that use religion as one of their methods of abuse, they often are also either domineering, so they end up being the virago. They're sometimes even feminists. That's not at all impossible. They may be baby rabies type. They may be trying to get children. They may also be a gold digger. They could also be borderline. A lot of borderlines use religion because that really suits their fancy. It helps them with their sense of craziness and forgiveness. A lot of women seek forgiveness through the church. You'll notice a lot of women between the ages of 28 and 35 will seek to go back to a church that they previously left. And when I say a church, I don't just mean one physical location. I mean to go back to church at all. They may reinvigorate their belief system because what they're looking for is now they want to, they basically want to get forgiveness and not restitution, but they want forgiveness and, what's the word I'm looking for? Absolution of their past, specifically their sexual past. They've been with, a lot of guys. They rode on what's known as the COCK carousel. They rode around on it for a while. They've hopped from guy to guy to guy to guy. And now that they're coming to their epiphany phase, as Rollo Tomassi would say in his book, The Rational Male, I recommend reading that. Great book. Once they're in their epiphany phase, what they're looking for now is forgiveness and absolution for their past. They know that it's not religiously what they should be doing. They're not supposed to be sleeping around with men, and a lot of women believe in the notion of, waiting until they're married, although it just doesn't work out that way. Biology doesn't allow that most of the time. So now she's looking for that forgiveness, and she goes to the church because the Christian church preaches that. Forgiveness, it's all okay, what you did was fine. You're not a bad woman. You know, having 3 kids with 3 different dudes, and 6 different guys between each of those 3 different dudes, and all those one-night stands and all those friends with benefits, all of that is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And I'm not saying there is. I'm really honestly not trying to be judgmental. I know it sounds like it. But in their mind, they're feeling some judgment for that. Because now they're going into the epiphany phase. This is what I like to call the settle down with a family and be a good girl phase. It's time for them to settle down with a family and be a good girl and a good mother and have a white picket fence, the 2.5 kids with the dog, the guy who goes and works. And this is where she wants to be a more traditional Christian woman. And she needs to put behind her past, and Christianity loves to offer that to women. It's much more it's much more appealing to women than it is to men. It always has been. It's just the Christian message nowadays has been highly feminized. So is the church. The church has been highly feminized to the point where it is almost off-putting to men. It's very feminine. It's all about forgiveness and in lovey-dovey love, and he's so great and he just loves us and he forgives us for everything and everything's okay and everything's going to be great. And it's not like the old church where, if you look at the hymns, it used to be about he's a bulwark of he's like a castle and we will take up the sword and we will crush our enemies beneath us. And used to be a much more masculine message in church. But now, of course, the message is very weak, very feminine, very effeminate. It's been feminized, heavily feminized. All right, let's get to page 2. That was page 1 of this little notepad here. I use little legal pads. I use the big legal pads, and then I use like the little version of legal pads. I love these things. Only problem is it's really hard to write on the back of the paper without tearing it off, but I usually just don't use the backs. If you do write on the back, you really can't get too much of it because of how the fold works on it. But that's neither here nor there. Not having a shield really makes the game feel different in a lot of ways. It really does, guys. You realize how reliant you are on a shield in these games when you don't have one. So, the one thing I want to stress again. Please don't think that if you have a girl and you're like, yeah, my girl's the religious type, I figured her out. That doesn't mean she's not another type. There are women who may be 3 or 4 different types altogether. For example, you may have a woman who's a narcissist, who's also a deadbeat. She doesn't want to work. She doesn't want to do anything. She gets baby rabies when she hits about 32, and she's also religious. So that is very possible. It's happened to me. I've had relationships where I can see that they were multiple different conditions all at the same time. So keep in mind, you are not looking for the one condition that your girl has to pigeonhole her into. You are looking for the multiple different conditions she can or might have. It's interesting, you can parry this guy, but you can't riposte him. So you can parry him, but you can't get him with the riposte, however you pronounce it. You're going to hear some repeating themes, especially between the narcissist and the borderline personality / bipolar. That's good because those are important issues. I would say one of the most dangerous types of women out there is the narcissist, is the borderline, because they will honestly, truly sometimes believe that they love you. They will believe that they are inherently good people. And when the relationship goes bad, as it will, you will be the horrible, evil, bad guy. And they will turn you into the horrible, evil, bad guy. And everyone must know about how you're the horrible, evil, bad guy. Everyone. Your family, your friends, her family, her friends, the church, your work, your boss, the police, DV shelters. Everyone's going to know. She's going to tell everyone about how horrible you are. And she wants everyone to believe her. She wants everyone to be on her side and be against you. So be aware, it's very dangerous. She'll often be very effective because she will appear to be this innocent, sweet little victim. She'll cry. She'll play the victim. She'll act like she's just a little desperate little girl, and you were just this horrible, big, bad, mean man to her, and you just did all this big, bad, mean stuff to her, and she never did nothing wrong, and she was just nothing but good and sweet and wholesome and loving and fresh and Christian and good. And but you just kept abusing and abusing her, that's the role she'll play. So it's very dangerous, and you want to know all the red flags of narcissism and borderline personality disorder. There are red flags and there are yellow flags. Most people in the red pill community only discuss red flags. What they mean, in my opinion, it's not just red flags. We shouldn't look at everything as a red flag or not, because there's an in-between, okay? Red flags to me are danger, danger, danger. That's when the robot in the old Lost in Space show, or there's a new Lost in Space now, that's when the robot says, "Danger, Will Robinson." That means there's something serious going on. There's a significant, serious risk. You need to pay attention. If she is covered in head to toe with tattoos, that's a red flag. If she has a couple tattoos here or there, usually covered up by clothing, that's a yellow flag. Maybe it's a problem, maybe not. Most of the things that people refer to as red flags are yellow flags. For example, she refers to her pets as fur babies. That's a yellow flag. That's a definite yellow flag. That could definitely indicate something, but it's not a red flag. To me, a red flag means stop, do not pass, go. Just leave, abandon, walk away. An example of a red flag would be a woman that gets really mad, hits you, throws things at you, screams at you, and then shortly after apologizes. The hitting, the throwing, the screaming, red flag. End it. End it right away. So this area is going to be a little risky because my weapon is very short and these guys are empowered to do a lot of damage. And they can do jump attacks. This guy can shoot. Oh, yep. See, told you. I don't at this moment have a ranged weapon, and I don't have a shield. That can be a risky spot regardless. So, women, predatory women, knowingly and unknowingly seek out weak men to take advantage of, okay? What that means is that they are looking, they are looking for men who are weak. They are looking for men who, actually, you know what? I don't think I can kindle this past +10 without getting the right of kindling again. I think you lose that in New Game Plus. Let's find out. Yep, my bad. Oh well, just have extra humanity on us. So, if you show the signs of being a weak man, if you show the signs of being a man who allows people to step all over him, to walk over him, a welcome mat, if you show the signs of being a man who lets people take advantage of him, she will see that. These predatory women see it even if they don't know it. They see it before they even know that they've recognized it. They hone in on it. It's like their radar is calibrated to see it. So you want to be very cautious not to show signs of weakness. And we've talked about those before. One of the ways that you show strength and not weakness is by standing your ground, setting boundaries, having frame. The relationship is in your frame. You set the groundwork for how things should go in your relationship. You set firm boundaries, firm guidelines. So, for example, if you walk in there and, you know what, let's see if I can use a bow and still fast roll and all that jazz. Ooh, so much stuff. We're going to put some of this stuff away. We brought it all back out so we could upgrade stuff and kind of see what we had. Do we not have the Ferris bow? Well, that's interesting. I didn't realize we don't have the Ferris bow. Okay. I mean, that's fine. It's not a big deal, but it would be nicer to have the Ferris bow. Interesting. We don't have many bows. Oh, yeah. What? Oh, no. Just that alone makes us medium raw. That's interesting. I think it's really hard to shoot him through this. Yeah, it doesn't want to go through there, does it? Yeah, I don't think we can get him through this. Let's try... Did he just fall? Did he just fall? He just fell down, didn't he? Okay, guys, the most important thing is killing him. If I die to them, he'll still be alive, so let's go get him. There we go. Perfect. And now we can kill them as they come down. Except we're bouncing off this stuff. This is working out rather well, isn't it? Oh, I did not want to do that jump back, but it did. That's what, by the way, we do the jump back instead of the kick. So that's actually really good. I don't like the kick. The jump back is better. I'd rather it not happen because I'm not planning on it happening, but at least I attack instead of kick, which is what I almost always mean to do. So yeah, you don't want to be emotionally weak. You don't want to be dependent on a woman, financially or otherwise. You don't want to confide what can be used against you, okay? Don't reveal your weaknesses. Don't sit down with this woman and be like, you know, the thing about me, one of my weaknesses is I do this or I do that. I tend to trust women too easily, or, you know, I tend to get involved emotionally really quickly and I just get real invested. Don't tell women what your weaknesses are. I made this mistake. If you tell a narcissist or a borderline or an abuser, they will use it against you. Believe me, they will remember it. They won't even know why they remember it so well, but they do because they're just genetically, biologically, I don't know, psychologically programmed to keep in mind what to do to hurt you. It's that thing where people talk about how, oh, she knows how to push my buttons. Yes, she does. Yes, she does. Okay. So don't show her where your buttons are to push. And when she pushes your buttons, don't respond as if she's pushing a button, because that's her feeling you out, figuring out what your buttons are so she knows where and when and how to push them. All women, even good women, will show some signs of this kind of predation. So at some point or another, guys, you're going to see some of these red/yellow flags in the women that you see. So what you need to keep in mind is seeing one yellow flag or even just one red flag somewhere one time isn't necessarily the end of the world, and that's the danger here. Now, she abuses you physically, she attacks you. That is a one-time only red flag. Get out, you're done. Okay? However, if there are other flags, like one time she gets a little mad and screams for maybe like a minute or two and then stops and says, I'm sorry, that's a potential red flag. But maybe that can be worked with if everything else is going really well, everything else is fine. She recognizes the problem. You could maybe make it work, but it's risky. So you got to decide, you know, how much are you willing to risk? How dedicated do you want to be to this? And how much are you willing to put yourself on the line and risk your health and your psychological well-being? And that comes down to the abundance mindset. Do you have other women? If you've got other women you're dating, don't invest more in a woman who's showing red and yellow flags. Look for the women that aren't. If all the women in your life appear to be showing red flags and lots of yellow flags, and you constantly feel like these issues are popping up in all these different women, what's the one consistent factor in all the women you date? Hopefully by now, if you've been watching all these videos, you know. What's the one consistent factor in every single woman that you date? You. So, this doesn't mean you're broken. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. What it does mean, though, is you might unknowingly, unintentionally be targeting women that are problematic. I hate that word because social justice warriors love to use it. And feminists love to use it. But you may, for whatever reason, just be kind of gravitating towards these types of women and not even know you're doing it. So the key there is to look at it and go, okay, you know what? I'm noticing that I'm constantly getting with these women, and they're all showing the same red flags. I'm constantly getting with these borderline women. Are you the type of guy where you're so accustomed to it that you think it's normal and even just everyday regular behavior for a woman to be crazy? That's possible. Do you think that there's just nothing wrong with a chick who screams and yells and gets super emotional all the time? Have you gotten to the point where you see this as just normal female behavior instead of outline negative red flag behavior of dangerous predatory women? That's what you want to look at. Oh, shit. Woo! I'm almost dead already. 2 shots and I'm dead with this guy. I don't think you can bleed these guys. If he does the jump move, I'm screwed, because that tends to hit and has a lingering hitbox, so it's very difficult to gauge. Not that jump move, but another one. Oh, shit. Woo, that was close. I would have gotten real close to dead there, and had he staggered me and then done another attack, which I don't think he has a follow-up to that. I think that's a 2-part attack. Alright guys, we're getting close to the end of this episode. I've discussed most of it. Red versus yellow. Keen awareness is the key, guys. Watch for the warning signs. Watch for intent. Watch for patterns. If she keeps doing the same thing, if she keeps swearing and promising she'll never do it again, come on, you know how that works. The first time she promises never to do it again and then does it again, the promise doesn't mean anything anymore. It's not necessarily the end of the world for her. Doesn't mean she can't get better, but you're going to have to set some firm boundaries. You might be the one that helps her get better. You're not going to change her necessarily, but what you're trying to do here is set boundaries so that she knows, hey, you know what? With this guy, he doesn't put up with this. When I scream and yell at him, he walks out. When we're at my place and I scream and yell, he says he's gone and he leaves. And what you do is you withdraw your affection and your time, your attention. You just walk away and you tell her. And if it happens again, you walk away again, you say, you know what? If this keeps happening, I can't waste my time. I can't drive all the way over to your place, or I'm not going to drive to the restaurant and have you make a scene in front of everybody and then me have to walk off on you. So you set some firm ground rules and boundaries, and you establish those boundaries, and you enforce those boundaries. Enforcement is the only way boundaries work. If you set boundaries but don't enforce them, nothing happens. They're not boundaries. They'll be broken over and over and over again. And she will test you. She will constantly test how far she can go. So just be aware of that. Well, guys, I put us here. Don't know why, but I did. So anyway, we killed that Titanite demon. If you like this video series, I hope you keep watching. Make sure to like the video if you liked it, subscribe, click the notification bell icon, select all videos if you want to always be apprised of my video uploads. You can also follow me on social media. Twitter is where I'm most active. And I'm very excited for this. In the next episode, we're going to talk about the narcissist, one of the most damaging and dangerous types of women out there. They usually come with other negatives attached to it as well, so that makes them even worse. But narcissists are really bad, and I have personal experience with at least one narcissist in my dating and relationship life, so I can talk about some general concepts with personal knowledge and experience. That makes it far more interesting. I'm Fox with FoxeoGames. I hope you join me for the next one, guys. Since this is a female character, I'm going to do the more female bow, and I will see you in the next episode of Dark Souls Predatory Women. Later.